In this video, I'm going to show you how to measure the circumference and the diameter of some common things you might have around home. And so I found in my kitchen a couple of things. I found this lid from a jar, and I also found this white cup. And I think what I'm going to do is I'll show you, first of all, how to do the circumference, or the distance around the outside, the perimeter of the circle. And you're going to see what you have around home. So one thing you want to look for is a means of measuring. So it could be a flexible measuring tape, might be the kind that's in a sewing kit. You also might have a flexible measuring tape, something like this. This one's great, it's got inches and centimeters on it as well, so it can wrap around things. The paper one also has inches and centimeters, which is nice. Or if you don't have something with markings on it that can bend, maybe you just have a ruler of some kind. And that's okay, because we can use it too. I'll show you that in just a sec. So for the things that are flexible, what you're going to do is you're going to go around the outside of the object, just like this. Pull it nice and tight, make sure it's straight all the way around, kind of in the middle, something like this. There we go. And because we're Canadian, we're going to measure this one in centimeters. So when I look here, I notice that it measures about 35.1, 35.2, somewhere in there. And I want you to try and come up with a measurement that's as accurate as possible. I'll show you using my other flexible tape. Same idea. Start at 0, go all the way around, and see where the measuring tape ends up back at 0. So this one fits quite nicely around here. It's a little better than the other tape. And it's reading about 35, that's 35.5, so 0.1, again 35.2 would be the circumference of this particular object. Okay? So if you don't have a flexible tape, here's what you can do instead. You can grab something that is bendy but not stretchy. So for example, I have this piece of wire I found kicking around a house, or if you have a piece of string, or for smaller things I even found the zip tie, and I'll show you that with the cup in just a sec. So what you can do is you can put this around the outside and figure out where you want 0 to be. I'm going to choose 0 to be where this knot starts. So right about, I'll go a little bigger there, right about here is where the 0 is going to be. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pinch where my string goes, and then I can line it up along my measuring device. So remember, I started at the knot being at 0. So if I start at 0 and I stretch it, now my particular ruler doesn't go long enough. I need more hands to do this. I start at 0 and I stretch it. I get to here, get to 12. So maybe what I'll do is I'll pinch it where 12 is as well, which was right about there, and then measure the extra. Now this time I measured in inches, and what we should do is try and measure in centimeters wherever possible. This comes out to about 14 inches. Okay, you could just multiply that by 2.54 to get it in centimeters if you wanted to as well. So it really doesn't matter to me what method of measuring you use, but if you do use inches, you have to know how to read these little markings, and they're not tenths, they're halves and eighths and sixteenths and things. So for this exercise, we should use centimeters. Okay. If I wanted to do the circumference around this cup, okay, anything that's cylindrical, same idea. This time I'll show you using the zip tie. Let's say that I don't have something flexible that can measure all the way around. So maybe my zip tie goes from the end to about here. I can pinch where it left off, and then I can line that up on here. And I can see that if I started at 0, it ends up being about probably 18.1, 18.2 centimeters, somewhere in there. Okay, if you want to measure a couple times just to be sure you can, but that's how you can measure the circumference of round things. To measure the diameter, you'll need a ruler, and it can be a flexible one like this one, okay, or it can be a flat one. And diameter is the widest distance across. So if I anchor 0 and I kind of pivot up and down, I'm going to keep doing that until I get the biggest measurement possible. Now what's neat about this tin is you can actually see where the center is. We know diameter has to go through the center, so I'm kind of lucky that way. But it ends up being about, if I put the 0 right on there, about 11 centimeters exactly, which is kind of nice. Okay, I could also use the measuring tape if I wanted to as well. And if I pull it across, it's about 11.1 on here, just because my 0 is a little off. This is an old tape. Okay, and then I can record my diameter as well. So there you go. That's how you measure circumference and diameter. Find 5 objects that are round and flat. So a ball won't work because you can't cut through the center to measure the diameter. And now you can fill in your investigation.